So welcome back everybody, this is Paul again from the YouTube site You Can Learn to Fly, and today I'm doing another in our series about flight planning. I have this view that you just can't get enough practice, and any kind of practice, even if it's simulated, is very helpful. So what I'm doing here, for example, in my real life, I probably will never fly hundreds and hundreds of flight plans, but at least I can practice with unusual terrain, places I might never go, and so on. So today what I have is, I've already done a lot of the calculations here. I have designed this particular style for my own use. The waypoints, frequencies, airspeed, ground speed, all the stuff that you need to, from and to airports, type of vehicle, all the different specifics. So I've already filled that out, and we have 4 legs here in our journey. And what we're going to do is we're going to go about 105 nautical miles. Pretty easy, you might say, but we're going to use a small airplane. The choice that I have is a small mall amphibian, and that presents a few little challenges. Very lightweight, and it can get buffeted by the wind and so on, and it also has those big pontoons on it, so that adds a little drag and so on. So our first leg is to intercept the 360 and 180 radials here from this particular VOR, and I've calculated all the legs. There's about 4 from here, and actually just 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's a very easy trip basically. But like I said, the challenge partly is the weather and the stiff winds and the small aircraft. So I'm going to review a few little products here. Basically, a lot of people have their own style of doing a flight plan and the kind of gear that they use and so on. And what I use here is a kind of clipboard. I don't always carry all these samples in here. These are just, I'm going to demonstrate the use of these in just a minute. But I carry 1 or 2 of the necessary items. You need to calculate your speed, your time, your distance, your wind correction, and so on. You need some basic calculations that are really quite easy, especially if you have some of these real basic tools. And this particular clipboard is very handy because I keep some of the gear in there and my flight plans and so on. I have some information written down in my region where I fly, different frequencies I might need for communication and navigation and so on. Now, there's a couple things we need. Everybody knows by now, if they're trying to get their pilot's license, you need to calculate your speed and time and distance. So we got 105 nautical miles, and I used the airspeed of 120. It's a very easy calculation because it's basically 2 miles a minute. And I have this, what they call a whiz wheel here. These are really cool. You can get these cheap on eBay. They're vintage and they last a long time, but you don't need a calculator. I have the iPad app that does the E6B and all that calculation, but this is actually very easy to use once you know how to do it. So I got 105 nautical miles here, and I throw 120 underneath there, and I come out with about 54 minutes, and I already checked this with the calculator and it is accurate, so I don't need to calculate to the 10th of a second here or whatever. I know that I got about 55 minutes or so plus a climb and descent, so maybe I've got roughly about an hour ahead of me. And this is an old vintage wind calculator. Basically I have it set up for the heading I'm going to be going at 020, and then I have a 20 knot wind from my left. I have a wind correction angle of 6 degrees, and I already calculated that. This is a very handy one. You can rotate the dial in the back. It's much easier to use than the standard E6B. So now, to calculate your distance, you have, this is for our higher altitude chart, the smaller scale rather, and this one here is a sectional, so it's got about 85 nautical miles on a side here. So I can lay it out and quickly get my distance. This is a really cool vintage gadget that I kind of set up. I took apart a ruler and protractor from an old E6B, and I added this scale from vintage World War II that has, if you're going 120 knots, how many minutes it'll take you. For example, my first leg is 26 nautical miles, and I can see very quickly on this scale it's going to take me about 13 minutes. This is another gadget that is really cool, one of the earliest, Dalton, before the E6B as we know it now. And this allows you to calculate, you put in your your course, and then your wind angle, and then you line it up here and you can determine your wind correction angle down here and the plus or minus that you'll lose because of your headwind or tailwind. Now quickly going through this here, one more thing to measure distance is you have this gadget here. A lot of people know about this. What you do is you can go any kind of a interesting trajectory. You don't have to go by a straight line, and then you back it back against the scale and you look at it and it tells you how many nautical miles. You just kind of back it along a scale and you get your distance. So that's just a few products that I use, and I'm going to fly this flight in the simulator. I have a saying regarding checklists that a short pencil beats a long memory, and these are vintage pencils I find very nice to have. You can always have a lead, they're always sharp, they're very durable and long lasting, and you can get a lot of fun ones like this one here that is I attached to a lanyard, spans down. I always have it around my neck, so whenever I need to write down a frequency or a clearance or anything like that, just I can immediately write it down and then it retracts. Simple devices like that are handy. A few more things to have when you're traveling. Of course, you got to have your glasses. A magnifying glass really helps sometimes. I always carry a spare compass. This is a Brunton, very nice one, and it's good gear for survival gear. Should you be down somewhere, you have something like this. Flashlights and a knife. This is a great one by CRKT. It snaps out. Very lightweight, very durable, long lasting. This is a very simple flashlight available in many places, and these LED bulbs are very bright, and it has one ray coming out this and one way this way, and it also has a magnet and a hook, so it's very, very useful. So I'm going to fly this flight as I've indicated. It's a very interesting flight. There's some scenic landmarks along the way. I have a waypoint here of a tower. It just happens to, a choice of route. You think about, you look at the map, you say, well, I could go this way, I could go that way. I chose to go near a bunch of other airports, and very easy to navigate using that one VOR, and there's a couple of NDBs in the neighborhood, so I can use that as well. And I'm going to fly this in a simulator without the GPS, even though the simulator could put the GPS on if I wanted to. But I like to challenge myself, and I've got some roads marked out and some rivers and lakes that I can spot from the air in my trip up there. So when I get it all set up, I put my map. This is one of the clipboards that I use. It's a transparent clipboard, and it's really cool. It has a little sleeve in there that you can put stuff in. And I just attach this here in the direction of my flight, and then when I line up my map, everybody knows you got to fold your map just the right way. So I got this, my first leg this way and my second leg that way, and I often take another clip. I put the clip over here so it really doesn't get lost and fall off and flap around. And then I attach this around my neck. Sometimes I have this clipboard attached to my neck with this lanyard, and then I have another little bag that I use. I put this around my neck so I have it under my right arm, and I can put in my different kinds of things like my headlamp, a flashlight, an extra pencil, and so on, my glasses, my reading glasses. So that's the kind of system I use. I'm really still experimenting myself, and there's a lot of good gear out there that I haven't tried yet. So